Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang.
Mrs. Wang, are you with us?
I am paying attention.
Now, you may only see a pile of receipts, but I see a story. I can see where this story is going. It does not look good.
What's happening?
You're listening to The Night Before, a movie podcast. Each episode, we find a unique place in the city and share a drink and our thoughts about the movie we watched the night before. This is Lee, and I am joined, as always, by my husband, Jesse. Well, here we are again
New episode.
at Sideward Brewing
We're
in Orlando.
We're in Orlando, Florida. But this is like the winter park
Oh,
kind of neighborhood
I thought you
area.
were talking about the season.
No.
It's not winter, it's spring. But this is the winter park area of Orlando.
Yeah, so it is a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier today,
Busy here.
Earlier
pretty
today,
busy.
we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
The latest A24
So
masterpiece.
this is a day of.
Yeah,
The night after. The night
but
of.
it's nighttime, so it's night of. But no, we're in Sideward Brewing, grabbing a late night brew.
Called Space Wizard
Space Wizard. It's like a
Hazy IPA.
with some like flowery undertones.
Oh,
To
yeah.
quote you
Where'd
from
you
earlier.
get that idea?
It's in our pre-show talk.
There are flowery undertones. It has a different taste than I'm used to tasting. Has like a flowery undertone, maybe a little peppery as well.
But it's a nice little vibe. We're out.
Mm-hmm.
Most of their seating's outside. They still have remnants of, or maybe it's been like an all-time thing, like the parking lot COVID seating. They
Yeah.
have like a lot of picnic tables in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we're sitting out on their, they have like a big patio where most people sit.
Yeah.
You can order food.
It's a nice brewery. I mean, it's, not a hole in the wall type place. It's a nicer brewery, but
Yeah.
not big. So semi.
No, they definitely know what
small.
they're doing here.
They got it together.
Definitely some investors.
Yeah, they definitely have some investors because it's well put together.
Yeah, they got a little operation happening here. No, so we have that. They have a ton of IPAs on the menu. Maybe we'll get another one. We'll see.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see where the night
We'll
takes
see how
us.
heated this conversation gets.
Ooh,
But
I think it's gonna get juicy.
like your IPA,
Like my IPA, and there's something dripping from
I think
the
it's just
table.
the condensation
Okay.
from the drinks.
Like my flowery, juicy, peppery IPA.
So we should say, a little bit about it, but we now have our first official lost episode.
We do.
We
We're mourning
recorded-
it. We're not going to try to redo it because it wouldn't be authentic.
Yeah, we recorded David Lynch's
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet, starring Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern. But we did it at a coffee shop,
We did at
Over
the Corner
breakfast.
Club.
and I thought it was a really good conversation.
It was. It was a really good
So-
conversation.
But our first, after like 36 or so episodes, this is our first like corrupted file,
Yeah.
audio
for
file.
sure.
But what I just think I'm going to do, I was able to salvage the last 15 minutes of the episode.
Okay.
So at the end of this episode, it's just we'll cut to a
To a little clip.
clip from Blue Velvet, and it'll be the tail end of our conversation.
Okay. That sounds good.
So
It's better than nothing.
just have it out there. So
We saw it. Yeah, we saw it at the Tampa Theater. Went and talked about it.
yeah, and I think we
But,
both liked it.
We'll just have to hold that in our memory
Yeah.
and move on.
Okay.
Okay, so now we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
And we kind of just randomly decided on it.
So we let fate control our movie
Basically,
choice.
whatever movie started the soonest, we decided we would go
because
see.
that AMC Stubbs movie pass A-lister thing.
Yeah.
And that was the most, I mean, there wasn't anything starting for a while, another 40 minutes or so.
Yeah. So we decided on that. And it's an A24 movie. So we thought.
I will say this wasn't a movie neither one of us were
We're
really
dying
planning
to see. No, we weren't. We'd seen the trailer in a couple other movies we'd been in, and I wasn't like gung-ho to see it. I wasn't against seeing it, but I wasn't like, we got to see this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just the whole multiverse idea wasn't like
sci-fi kind of thing.
Crazy about seeing, only because of all the superhero movies do multiverse right now.
Right.
And I was like, okay, but this is going to be a more serious take on the multiverse, which it was.
Of course, yeah.
But at the same time, I wasn't connecting with it with the trailer.
Me either. I did not connect with the trailer.
But I think a good way to... I thought of a question, since we lost our David Lynch episode. We opened it with a question someone posed on Letterboxd about David Lynch's Blue Velvet.
Uh-huh. What was the question?
And I think the similar question we could apply to this film.
Okay, what was it? I don't remember.
Well, the Blue Velvet question was, since Blue Velvet is a film directed by David Lynch,
yeah,
how is one to know if it's a good movie or not?
Okay.
Which we talked about.
Right, we talked about
Velvet.
that in the Blue Velvet, yeah.
So my question is, knowing that Everything Everywhere All at Once is an A24 film, and directed by the Daniels, who did the Swiss Army Man movie, which we haven't seen, but we know a lot of people like it. But since this is an A24 film, how are we to know if it's a good movie or not?
Well, I think we've seen enough A24 films at this point to know that there can be a mediocre to not great A24 film.
That is true. But
there are a lot
I made
of
the joke at dinner that
I know they put the A24 so you know it's good.
So you know it's a good movie. So you know you're sitting in a good movie.
And a large percentage of them are really good.
Yeah. So we could probably rephrase the question. How do you know if it's a good movie or a great movie?
Right. Well, I guess that's
if
all
that
up
A24
to
logo's in there.
That's all up to your opinion.
Or how do you know if it's good or if it's just overhyped? Because this movie's killing it with the reviews.
I know. It is killing it with the reviews.
So does that give you, before kind of getting into our feelings, when something has really high reviews like this, right? Like as of this recording, a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, on Letterboxd.com, a 4.6 out of 5.
Reviews do not influence me.
But does that give you pause to say, not to say that you're going to, oh, this is good because everybody else says it, but does this give you pause? Like you're halfway through this movie and you're like,
it gives me pause to try to look at it from more angles. Like what is everyone seeing in this? So yeah, it does like open my mind a little to say like, what am I missing out of this, or what is it? But no, I don't think reviews influence my decision. I either like a movie or I don't, or there's things I like about a movie and there's things I don't. But this movie...
So that boils down for this movie. Did you like this movie or not?
I was not crazy about this movie. I mean, I know a lot of people liked it. There were, I have to say, overall, and a very simply put, I like the message the movie was trying to portray.
It's a feel-good movie.
I disliked the over-the-top absurdity. I thought it was too much. There was too much fighting. There was too much. The absurdity was unnecessarily over the top, where some parts were funny, but then it was so absurd that it wasn't even funny to me. In parts, I didn't find myself laughing a lot in it, even though it was extremely absurd.
Except for raccoon
But
tattooing.
even that went on too much. At first it was funny, but that even went on too long.
I think the fact that it went on too long made the bit funnier. But anyway, go on.
So I think I always get, and I think I've felt this way in another movie we've seen. You know what? It makes me sad when there is a movie like this that the reviews are so like 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm watching it and I'm like,
You're part of the
so
3%.
this is what America needs: over the top, absurd, slightly, I mean not slightly, vulgarity, and constant violence. This is what America needs to love a movie. And I've said that about another movie
But
in the past.
just
And I'm
kind of
like, that's depressing to me.
But think about, broccoli is good. Not everybody loves broccoli, but it's good for you, right? Like the
Yeah.
message of this movie is really good.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed what they were trying to.
But then sometimes, there's the phrase of like, well, this movie is a lot of chocolate-covered broccoli,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Too much.
Like, we need to give you the
Nobody
broccoli,
wants-
but we're going to coat it in chocolate.
Nobody wants chocolate-covered broccoli. I mean, I guess a lot of people do.
No, but they got chocolate. They don't realize it's broccoli.
Oh, gotcha.
Chocolate-covered broccoli. It's kind of just a thing people say.
I
No,
think-
I agree there was a lot of absurdity in it. And some of it works much better than the others.
Yeah, I mean, some of it
Pieces.
was the absurd. I don't mind absurdity.
And I think...
But when the absurdity becomes, I don't know, too much.
Well, I think it's a complicated... I'll say that. I liked the movie. I didn't love it. It definitely gave me a much greater emotional response than I thought it would by the end. And I think that's probably what most critics are... I haven't read critic reviews. I've just seen the blanket scores. You can't, like, in that movie and having any sort of family connection in your life and not be moved by it.
I have to say, I'm moved very easily by movies.
Yeah.
I was not moved that much by this movie. The only part that kind of moved me was the mother-daughter
That's what I mean. By
connection.
the end of the
But
mother-daughter...
even that, I didn't cry, and I cry
No,
very
no,
easily.
it's not. I'm not saying you have to be moved to cry. I'm just saying you definitely feel like the emotional weight of this movie.
Yeah, no, I liked the message of the woman, just her being, I loved what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
I liked the fact that this woman is just completely overwhelmed and burdened by all of these things happening in her life, between her daughter and the
Her husband?
dissolving marriage,
Yeah.
and their financial issues and the business and all this. All of
Taking
this
care
is like
of an ailing father.
taking care of an ailing father. All this weight is on this poor woman's shoulder. And in my eyes, this movie is just about a woman losing it.
Yeah, of course it is.
She's kind of lost her mind because the pressure is too much.
Well, it's just the pressure of dealing with the IRS and paying your business
It's too
taxes.
much. And she can't, she's just escaping reality, basically. And in the end, she realizes, she learns that she can't, she needs to. I don't know what she learns. She learns
I think
that,
she gets it's the family rallies around itself.
yeah, the
And
family
it's really, I think,
comes together to be together.
yeah,
and
they become a stronger unit and they embrace each other. And it's in some ways, she learns to let go of her stress, I guess. But the other family members kind
Learn to
of see
accept each other.
her. Well, they see her.
falling apart.
Well, her struggles and her acceptance of them. They kind of see what she's been doing. It's one of
Yeah.
those where, like, yeah, she learns to let go a little bit, and then to also, like, with her daughter, to follow her daughter versus try to control.
Change her daughter. Yeah.
but everybody, I guess the term is everyone turns towards everyone, turns
Right,
towards each
in
other.
the end, yeah.
Which is great. It's a good message.
Which is a great message. I just getting there to that message.
Okay, so I had some thoughts here.
Yeah.
One, I agree with you. I think some of it's some of it's too much, but like some of it is this idea of like your comment early on, like, oh, is this what America needs to get the attention? No, because I don't think it was done in that kind of pedestrian, low-hanging fruit style. I think it's a bit out there for the general audience. Like one question I had, which was kind of mean, was like, I was like, I don't mean to think this way, but like, does general movie audiences even like not understand the movie, but can they follow it enough? I don't think people are interested in just watching the absurdity. I think I think it is a bit out there and even a bit too absurd for broad appeal.
Okay.
So I think what critics are latching onto more are, you know, it's just like this big mismatch of popular culture, of just the changing in society and like the changing generation to generation. Even just how the daughter presents herself versus how like the mother and the grandfather
and the father,
or what the main character's father, or the girl's grandmother, Joy's grandmother. Like the daughter, Joy, presents herself in all the different multiverses as this sort of extreme, over the top anime character.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's grown up on anime.
Right.
Right? But the mother is always much more traditional. She's a singer. She's a traditional
for her culture.
For her culture and heritage, right? And so I think that's
just like Chinese, I guess.
And these are subtle.
Yeah.
Like they don't ever come out and say like, oh, you're this because you feel that way. But it's just there. And I think the reactions, and that's what you see a lot of the other people, all the potential lives they could have lived, all the different paths, the decisions. I think it presents this more extreme take on things, right? The extreme anime character. And even Joy's thing about, right, because she's still a child, young adult. She equates it all to like an everything bagel, right? It's just like, it's still that disconnection of
life.
Well, just like emotionally immature thinking still. It's not like...
Right.
And easy to give up, right? That's the big difference. It's so easy for the daughter to give up. There's no point in anything, right?
Yeah.
Versus the mother, it's like, yeah, there really is no point for a lot of things we do, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to stop trying.
I can't give up, yeah.
I'm not going to go into the void and get rid of everything.
Right.
And so I think all the sort of craziness...
And that's hard for the daughter to understand, which that part I did connect with. Like, I mean, just having teenagers and how you'll do anything for your teenagers, but they seem to not get it. How much things affect you, and about what they do, and what decisions they make, and how much you care, and how much you're constantly looking out for them. And she definitely. So I did connect with that part, but.
And I think all the crazy visuals and all the crazy things, even Raccoonatooey, which is again ridiculous and maybe a bit long in its joke. But even that is like a weird distortion of a mispronunciation the mother makes, to which the daughter mocks her, yeah, about it. This whole like, it's Ratatouille, it's not Raccoonatooey.
Right.
But then that Raccoonatooey manifests itself later into the film in some other parallel universe, right? So I think all that's funny, and I like all that. With that being said, I felt a lot of it was tiresome.
It was. I did too. I thought bits of it were
For a
very
2.5
funny.
hour long movie.
But I thought some of it was unnecessarily vulgar and like it was not funny at all.
Yeah,
The whole two guys with the thing, they have to put the thing up their butt to turn to the next universe.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, it was disgusting. Whatever, but if it would have happened and been gone, fine.
Yeah. It carried
But
on.
it went on.
It went on
and
too long.
on.
And that's
and
some
on,
of the bits.
And on. And I don't want to see that.
Some of
like,
the bits that are kind of
no.
funny or are trying to like get your attention. Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff in the film could have been less is more. Like the effect would have been funny for less is more. So I agree with that. And one thing I was thinking when I was watching is I was really enjoying it when they were talking about what the multiverses were and these different decisions you make.
Mm-hmm.
And let's show you all the different paths you could have gone in. I really liked all that stuff.
I wish I could have gone into the past more than just like constant fighting and all the past.
Well, then, like I said, all of it. There were a bit too many fight scenes, and some of it I get is the choreographed, almost like kung fu movie fight scene, which is a genre of film all in and of itself, which I think this movie definitely
leans on that.
Leans on and respects and is making a modernized version of the kung fu movie.
Right.
Which I think is also, it's just a genre. It's like those choreographed Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
That was the last time it was popular here in America. But
and
those,
again, I don't
those
mind
Jackie Chan style
a good
films.
fight scene, but
we know where it's choreographed scenes.
Right.
There was neat stuff when they're fighting in the office or the IRS building, and she's blocking punches with a keyboard, and like all that stuff's neat. But again, all the fights, for the most part, are in the IRS building.
Yeah.
So you run out of that. It kind of wears off. Like, okay, I've seen another office fight.
That
I've
part
seen another
of it
office fight.
wore on me. That went on for 80% of the movie.
I mean, I thought there could have been, you could do like 2 really good, grandiose fight scenes.
Right.
Super well choreographed.
And do more of showing the different universes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was thinking like, tell me more, explore more of this. And because for the first hour of the movie, I was struggling to try to just understand how all the multiverses work.
I mean, how they
like, how is this jumping? Where are they at? What's the real reality? And that was a bit distracting. But once that kind of got let go of, and I felt the later half of the film was much better than really the first part was really good. I'll say part 1 I liked, part 3 I liked, because it's split into 3 parts.
Right, yeah.
Part 2 I was kind of...
Yeah.
It was just felt more the same, retreading some ground.
I agree. I just thought there were too much fighting, too much absurdity.
I knew you wouldn't like all the fighting. The absurdity I can appreciate, only because it snatched me out of those ongoing, prolonged fight scenes and whatnot. It would cut to some funny reference from previously in the movie, and you're like, oh, I get it, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then it, and some of the cuts were nice little breathers. I thought cutting to the rocks were fun little absurd things. Again, it goes on. It's a long bit that goes on.
The rock thing goes on. But I liked the symbolism of that. Like, you can only talk to each other when you can't feel or see each other. Just like people do in texting. They can only say what they want to say in words when they can't see someone's face and they can't feel anything, like an unfeeling rock. That's like from a Greek myth, by the way.
Yeah.
But, so I liked that symbol, that metaphor as well. But again, it went on too long.
Yeah.
It was like, okay.
And hot dog fingers was fun. It was gross.
I did not like that part of it. I just thought that was like way over the top. Like, what is the point in that? Like, that seemed out of place to me. That didn't seem.
Well, to my feeling is if you're accepting of a movie where there's all these different universes, multiverses, parallel dimensions, whatever you want to call it, that you exist in, which is, I think, the fascinating part of this, right? About all the little micro choices you make.
Mm-hmm.
Each one
could lead you to a different life.
And then you get
in
further
general.
and further, and the further away you get is the more absurd things get.
Right.
So that's where hot dog fingers come in. You're just,
Yeah.
but again, that bit pays off later when it was one of those moments. So I loved part 3 of this movie so much out of anything. It pays it off with the whole feet deal.
See, I thought that was too much. I was like, okay, enough with the hot dog fingers. Like, okay, hot dog fingers in the universe, that's funny, whatever.
But you saw the point, and again, we'll say like mild spoilers for part 3 of the movie here, the third act. But it pays off the whole hot dog bit, right?
Because of the
when
feet
Jamie
thing.
Lee Curtis starts playing the piano with her feet, and Evelyn, the mother, says, because she's in a kind of life and death situation,
Yeah.
she's like, you learn to be good with, it's okay. Life is okay no matter what bad thing happens to you, no matter what
So you adapt.
negativeness you have, where you find things to love and embrace, and you find things that you're good at.
Even with hot dog fingers.
Even with hot dog fingers, you learn to be good with your feet.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to help her. And you're like, okay. So the hot dog fingers had its reason.
So what I didn't like about the hot dog fingers thing was then the mustard coming out of the mouth.
That
and
was
then
silly.
like that was disgusting. That was like what I mean, like it's take it too far. Okay. I can even accept the hot dog universe finger thing. But then with all the mustard spilling out of their mouths and
But
all
that
that,
was on the TV show.
I know, but it was too much. It was too much.
But I did love that payoff.
Because once stuff like that starts happening, I just am like out. I'm like, okay. Why?
Yeah. So I think some of the critical love this gets is because of that. For me, I can see it as that Act 3 payoff.
Yeah.
Everything does
It wraps
for something that is so everything out there all at once
and chaotic
and crazy.
It does wrap up nicely
It all
in
connects.
the end. Yeah.
Which again, the movie shows you repeatedly that these universes are connected, and it does connect it. And so that was one thought I had was, sometimes we're trained, like, I mean, I've heard stories, right, when they test screen movies, or maybe they've done this in the past, where they ask you every 10 minutes, like, do you like the film? Do you not like the film? Do you like,
Yeah.
And they kind of gauge these data points of where does the film start to lose people's interest, and they punch it up, right? But sometimes, like in the message of the movie, right? If you're not good at everything, the things you are good at, you embrace. So even while I was watching and got to part 3, I thought, sometimes you have to go through, like, maybe we needed all this other malaise and over-bloated fighting and absurdity to really appreciate this family's story
Struggle.
more. No, great. You can have a drama. Like I said, you can have because we've seen dramas and comedies, and I mean, you could do the movie differently, and tell the same emotional story. But would we pay as much attention to it?
Well, it made me feel exhausted, and then that's how she felt.
Yeah.
She felt exhausted by
like
all of it. She was exhausted.
Yeah, all the crap she's just. This is just life.
She was tired of it, and her going through all these multiverses to get to where she could figure out how to get her family back together.
And her business and her
and
life.
her business and
the regret
life
of
and
the regret of following
her husband
at a young age. And like, would her life have been different?
And how to accept all that. You know, it was exhausting.
His life would have been different, and
her life would have been different. His life would have been different. Everybody would have been different. And she thinks, like, I would have been better off without him, is the reality of what she kept feeling.
Well, that was one thought she had,
Yeah.
What she kept thinking, yeah. And then, but he was struggling with those thoughts too.
Because he wanted to divorce her, yeah.
As I'm saying, like, sometimes do you have to fully love and enjoy what you're watching the whole time? And so I think that when you get to the end and you're like, okay, I really appreciate these people now and this family and this situation, and I see all the life connections between like family and children and
marriage and
all of it, like
parents.
And like even like the grandfather was accepting at the end. Like, it was just interesting, right? And so I'm like, oh, maybe you need to go through all that and not love it, not love the first 2 hours of this film.
In order to understand it in the end.
And then as you get it, so that's kind of where I ended at, was like, I didn't love it, but I was like, yeah, I liked what it was trying to do. It's probably something to watch again at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, get like a stronger feeling about it. But I appreciate something that's like different and wacky.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I'm glad it just wasn't superficial. Like,
Yeah,
that's kind of what the trailer made me think
I think it was memorable.
It was a more superficial film.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like, no, it really is a heartfelt film.
Yeah, it was definitely memorable. It's definitely
And I thought
different.
everybody's performances were like top notch.
Everybody's performances were good. Would I want to watch it again? Me, probably not.
No, because of all the...
Yeah, some of the absurdity was the vulgarity and the fighting was just too much for me. I look forward to watching that again. But I can appreciate what you're saying about the message and the actors and all of that. I can appreciate that it's a 97%, but for me personally, not something I would want to watch again.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a 97% because it's just all the fighting and crazy. I think it's a 97% because it makes sense of all that.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, it wasn't a terrible watch, but there was a couple points that I was just like...
No, I would I like to see even just a 2-hour version instead of 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think even just 2 hours
cut some of that
would be
out.
really a little tighter. I would really like
and
it.
Probably funnier.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have lost
even
some of the funny
even
bits.
Raccoonatooie. I love the fact that it's a terrible robotic raccoon. It's not a nice CG raccoon. If it was a really nice CG raccoon, it wouldn't be as funny.
Yeah, no, it was not. No, it was not.
I love it.
Unbelievable.
Like, I don't know. That was one of my favorite parts of that movie. The Raccoonatooie.
I knew that. Yeah.
Just because I knew, okay, this movie truly is bonkers. But I did like it by the end.
I thought it comical that she puts her daughter as like the monster.
Yeah.
Which teenage daughters are like monsters.
I was hilarious when it was just, the daughter is
the evil.
Is the evil in the universe.
She's like, someone has taken over my daughter, which is what every parent thinks.
Yeah.
Someone has taken over my teenager, like a monster has taken them over, and they are not themselves. They've lost themselves completely because they are evil and mean. And when she was talking to her, like, you're on your phone all the time. I call you, you never text me back.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, every parent thinks that.
No, I thought it was great. I thought the mother-daughter dynamic is at the core of this film, which was really good. And the husband and wife part, which the first half of the movie dealt much more on the husband and wife part, and that's what I really liked. There was a really strong parallel. Even when we would cut to some of the multiverse stuff, even the dialogue would sync up really well. Like they were having these multi-layered conversations, right?
Yeah.
He's talking about the alpha husband is talking about the multiverse and the danger and all this. And when they cut back to reality, the husband and wife are talking about their marriage and divorce and
Yeah.
and being growing apart and all this. And then it cuts back to the multiverse stuff, and
Which is why I think
it works so well, and the movie just sort of loses itself in the middle.
and I think I kept thinking like, in real life, is she having this conversation with her husband about getting divorced, and she is just snapping out of reality because she can't handle.
Well, that
what
was
the
nice,
conversation
even though
is.
there's the shot that shows the glass breaking
Yeah.
and her face in the different universes. Yeah, you could easily, even though it's meant to show her in the different universes, you could easily say like, oh, that's her cracking
Right.
over trying to be all things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can appreciate that.
And I
out
like
of
the
it.
idea of, her feeling that she's not good at anything, and there's
Right.
even that thing, the stuff when, and the disappointment of being a daughter to her father, and but they even talk about we picked you because you're not good at anything. Like
Right.
that's why you're the person to help save it all. You're not good at a single thing. And then obviously they deal with that by the end of the movie.
Mhm.
Back to the feet and hot dog fingers,
Yes.
but. No, it was a little bit of a surprise for me how much that I liked it as much as I did. Like I said, I didn't love it, but
Yeah.
so what I'll be curious to me is if this ends up on your bottom 5
Next year.
at the end of the year, and will it
We'll
end
have to
up in
wait
my
and
top
see.
5,
Who knows?
right?
Maybe. I don't think it's going to end up in your top 5.
I don't think it's going to end up in your bottom 5.
Maybe not. I mean, the thing is, if a movie is memorable, it's not going to end up in my bottom 5 because it's memorable enough for me to, this movie is memorable because it's different.
Yeah.
It's not one of those movies like, what was that movie about the people climbing up the mountain and whatever? You're not saying that. Like,
No.
what was that? And there's like a Megan Fox, Angelina Jolie movie. What was that movie? Were they the same movie? No. That's a bottom 5 movie.
I got
Where
you.
you're just like, I hardly remember what happened in that movie. This is not that for sure. But to me, I wasn't like leaving the theater feeling like, oh, that was like a enjoyable experience. There were parts of it that I was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had fun with you at the theater watching it.
I had fun seeing it when it
wasn't a waste of time.
No, it was fun. One of those like, hey, we got this monthly movie pass. What's
Let's
playing
go
right
see
now
it.
at this moment? And you could do a lot worse than everything, everywhere, all at once.
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, what I appreciate too is I'm hopeful that younger people will see this who maybe aren't like fully into film, but see it and be like, oh wow, that's a kind of a bonkers movie.
Mm-hmm.
And start digging a little deeper into it and liking it and kind of expanding their horizons. Because I think it takes
always.
films like that push the
Push
boundaries
the envelope, yeah.
to kind of open people's eyes to the possibility of film. And that's one thing I did appreciate about this as well. Kind of like when we talked about Blue Velvet last episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's another one that's kind of out there, pushes the boundaries. You either love it or you hate it.
Right.
And if you see it at the right time in your life, like that impressionable thing, it might be like, oh, wow, there's more to film than superheroes, than Spider-Man's jumping in and out of multiverses.
Right.
Right?
True.
So.
It's true. True. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. That was good.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Okay.
We'll do our cheers. I drank all mine, APA.
I have
You did not.
I've been talking too much. So
I know you had so many good
George.
things to say about this.
Well, I don't know. I'm just a sipping.
Yeah. Oh,
Just a
so
sipper.
what we'll do is, excuse me, we will wrap this up, and you can hear 15 minutes of a conversation about Blue Velvet.
Another off-the-wall movie.
Yeah, which we said we both liked. I think where this one picks up, we're talking about Laura Dern's character and how we didn't, or maybe not.
David
Maybe we're
Lynch
talking
left
about Isabella Rossellini.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think at her about how she's like, oh, how she just sort of like flocks to Kyle MacLachlan.
Oh,
I don't know, yeah.
yeah. That
Anyway.
was bothersome to us.
We just come in talking about them.
Okay.
All right, so it's our cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Listen to that part if you want. If not, you don't have to.
Yeah, but this is fun.
In the dream, there was our world, and the world was dark because there weren't any robins, and the robins represented love. And for the longest time, there was just this darkness, and all of a sudden, thousands of robins were set free, and they flew down and brought this blinding light of love. And it seemed like that love would be the only thing that would make any difference. And it did. So I guess it means there is trouble till the robins come.
You're a neat girl.
So are you. You're a neat guy.
No.
No, so yeah, it bothered me that she was, jumping from being raped to being so needy and constantly wanting, even though she's been traumatized by men, and that she was so needy for men all constantly. But
Yeah.
that's, like we said, part of her disturbing,
And I think it's
his
the trauma,
trauma and
how deeply traumatized she was. On the opposite side, though, I thought it was initially you could look at it one way. It's almost like a little like comical, like what's going on. It's Kyle MacLachlan like jumping from woman to woman too.
he is.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like he's in love.
It's like he doesn't know if he wants the
Isabella.
good girl or
Well, he
to
wants-
be into. He wants both.
He wants both.
Doesn't it? I mean,
yeah,
I think every man wants both, right?
but I think he's
Deep down,
yeah.
you want the good girl that's like wifey and perfect, and then you want your sexual desires to be satisfied in whatever those dark ways are.
The
Not
morbid-
you. I'm not talking about you.
No,
I'm
I know you're
talking
speaking
about
to
like
general you.
in general.
Those
yeah.
morbid curiosities.
Right. Exactly.
And Isabella Rossellini, which you're right.
Represents
You
that.
mentioned earlier, Dorothy is her name. Her and then Sandy by Laura Dern. One of my scenes I did like was when she starts realizing that when they're all together and there's the naked Dorothy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, her reaction I thought was great. Just sort of
Yeah.
like, what's going on here?
Like she's realizing that there's something dark
And Kyle's just like,
that he
Caught in the middle of
wasn't
it.
he wasn't bringing her in on, even though she was helping him with the investigation. He wasn't letting her in on what actually is happening when he goes into
yeah, what
the
did he
dark
say
world.
when the first time when he had that first interaction with her and saw the rape, and he's talking to Sandy on the phone, and she's like, "How did it go last night?" And he says something like, "It was okay. It went all right." And then a lot of people in the theater chuckled.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it did. No, the one thing I'll say is kind of so I think with that situation, a lot of situations, you have to take it that like painting approach, the visual approach. It's sort of, if you do start trying to think about the plot and the narrative, I mean,
Too
his
much.
films just don't have a solid
Right. You can't
narrative.
follow
It's
it
not,
completely.
it's not. They're not necessarily good screenplays at all. They're good direction. And I think this one. I mean, we're just speaking off the top of my head. This one either got Best Picture or Best Director, but not both. It got one.
Did it?
He only got one of those nominations, but he did get that for this. One of the things the other thing to talk about that you mentioned with the acting at the beginning is they're playing Beck. Wow, on the sound. We haven't heard this in a long time.
I like the song.
We talked a little bit about the awkward phrasing and pausing and stuff, and I like I said, I think that's intentional with the way he directs his actors. The other thing he does, which I really like, is the over-the-top emotional responses.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dennis Hopper's character, which is Frank, by the way, as his name was. He's constantly like at 11. He's just yelling everything he says.
That's part of his crazy.
Drops the F-bomb constantly.
He's just crazy.
He might talk one moment and then he's like screaming at the top of his lungs. And you know that's one of those like bigger.
And he's also like
bigger.
Inhaling the
that nitrous.
Which makes him over the top.
But at the same time, there's these scenes that you could almost say are cringy if you're not in the moment. When especially when Laura Dern and Kyle MacLachlan, I think they're in his car and they're talking and the music is, there's strings and it's all like sentimental music. And she's just talking about hope and love, and it's something about when the robins come and when the robins are gone, and she's like almost a little teary-eyed, and Kyle MacLachlan is, it's like it's over sentimental,
right,
but it's meant to be, like it's saccharine, it's over the top, and like there's always this sort of soap opera element to things.
Yes, yeah, for sure. That's how Twin Peaks is too.
But I really like it one of those moments.
You like that?
It's like lay on the sap, lay it on, lay it on, lay it on.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's
because as sappy as he does, he also goes like deep dark because you're like kind of shocked by what's happening on the screen, but then it goes complete opposite to like sappy and
like I said,
over sentimental.
And I look at him as not true to life emotional performances you see in a movie.
Right.
But I see them as more deep down at their core, how people feel about those things in those moments with all sort of pretensions stripped bare, right? It's at your core. It's like, well, if I'm really going to be cringy and cheesy and idealistic and hopeful, this is what I would sound like. But no one really allows himself to talk that way, except in David Lynch's dialogue.
Yeah, you can't really figure out if what's happening in the dark part of it is real or not, too, because, or as extreme or what, like you said, as over the top, because like when he gets beat up the next day and his face is all mangled, the next day his face is fine.
Yeah, I think some of that just might be continuity
And when he gets
errors.
cut at the beginning, like a couple hours later, his
Dorothy puts the knife to his face.
And he has that cut, and then the next day he wakes up and it's gone.
It's gone, I know.
Is that like meaning like this dark world is part of his fantasy? It's not really happening?
It could be, but I think it's...
Or is it just part of filming?
I think some of that's the continuity. And that's, like I said, I think if you look at these films, people could pick that stuff apart.
Right.
But if you're just sort of like...
I didn't know. It almost seemed purposeful. It was so like...
I mean, I see anything in this film, it's like it's all just part of a dreamscape.
Right,
once you enter the ear and you leave the ear, who knows what's real, what's not real.
Is that showing that it's not as extreme as it's being portrayed?
And it could be.
I don't know. It was just a thought. Because I was like, what? He's not beat up anymore.
Yeah. No, but I just feel like even later in the movie, near the end, when Laura Dern and Kyle MacLachlan are like expressing their love for each other again, it's like somehow without laying all the groundwork for building up believable relationships or falling in love, I think he has these like touching. He somehow manages to get these touching moments,
And you kind of believe it. You're
Yeah.
like, maybe they are in love.
and it's. I think it just somehow captures the spirit of that feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
Even so much, Twin Peaks season 3. There's that like the powerful love connection between the two characters, Ed and
Yeah.
Arlene or whoever, in the diner. Now, granted, that was like 25 years.
Of
of
building a
longing.
relationship.
But it was still that moment. It was just like perfectly
Mm-hmm.
in that one little scene. And I don't know. It's just somehow he does it. And so I thought I really enjoyed this watching of Blue Velvet.
Good.
And it did kind of put it into my mind like this might be.
One of the greats.
Well, I'm saying this might just be like a David Lynch movie that I really like.
Yeah.
That I remember and kind of revisit from time to time.
I really liked it. His style is still hard for me. Like, I
think
can't
it's hard
say
for
it's
most.
one of my favorite types of movies.
No.
I enjoy seeing things that I know you enjoy, and I liked it more than I thought I was going to. But I do have to say it's definitely not my favorite type or genre of movie. I mean, I guess it's its own genre, right?
Well, I guess. That's the thing.
But I think it was fun to see a classic movie like that at Tampa Theater.
Well,
And
you bring
like
up a
that
good
whole
point.
atmosphere was good.
Both times I've seen this film, it's been in a theater of sorts, right? Not an AMC style Carmike movie theater that's really nice. I think this movie is best when it's at some public showing. That
Yeah,
it's
it
a
was-
little uncomfortable setting where you're sitting. It's not like you're propped up reclining seats. It's not your
Right,
house
right.
where you have distractions. I think it was made in 1986. It has elements and the feels of like the 50s and 60s in there as well within the 1980 context. Because even like the ambulances and all that they use are like, they weren't using that in 86 anymore. you know,
No,
they had
yeah.
moved on.
Yeah.
The fire trucks. But I think the setting helps the viewing of this movie a lot. And I think if you sit on your couch, it's
It's a different
also not
experience.
going to ring true.
Yeah. It's also like a cult, like you say, a cult classic, I guess, like that. It's nice to see it in a theater with other people that are appreciating it or, enjoying it.
Yeah, we were in a theater with 30 plus other individuals.
That were
who
also into it.
were all
like
there.
clapping at the end and
They'd either
laughing.
either
and-
they were exploring it for the first time because they had a morbid curiosity, or they were fans of it and seen it again. Like my favorite part, I mean, obviously these dudes sitting a little to our left. It's a big theater, Tampa Theater. I don't think they'd ever seen it before. They're a little younger than us. I think they're in their 20s.
A little.
But when Kyle MacLachlan is leaving Dorothy's apartment, and then right around the corner, Dennis Hopper
Oh, yeah.
and his goon
Yeah.
shelf. And they know how crazy Dennis Hopper is.
Yeah.
And they're just like,
Uh-oh.
oh shit,
Oh,
no.
whoa.
Like, they were literally like
Oh, shit.
freaking out,
Yeah.
which I thought was funny.
That was fun. So it is the energy of seeing in that context is ideal, I guess, for a movie like that.
So that's my feeling. If
For
this
sure.
shows up again in like a theater showing, I would make every effort to see it again.
Yeah,
And I think that's where it works.
for sure. Definitely.
And I'm sure when it was made, I mean, granted, that was
That was
truly the only vision of where it
expectation.
would be.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
expectation of how viewers would consume it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hi.
hey. Got some friends popping up. This corner club's picking up.
I know. Well, I was going to tell you there's a lot more people inside now.
You gonna tell me? Can you tell me that after the podcast?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I will tell you that later. Shut up.
All right, so let's wrap up. We started working on our 1990 films.
We are
I was gonna say, I think we were a little too ambitious, saying it would be every month we would do a
a
new
different
year.
decade or
Year?
year.
We're just still gonna move forward,
Mm-hmm.
but it might be about 2 months.
2 months, yeah, probably. Because we still have 2 more movies
We got
to
to watch
watch
Joe
from
versus Volcano
1990.
and Pretty Woman. We have watched
We
Dances with
got a little
Wolves.
behind because the
The Oscars really slowed
The
us down.
Oscars. We probably should have started it in April.
No, I think it's fine. We'll just kind of go at our pace. I think
Yeah.
this sets a new tone
Yeah.
and expectation.
Mhm.
It's just our ongoing goal.
Yeah.
So when we finish those, which might be within the next episode or two,
Mhm.
we'll do our 1990 episode
Yeah.
of our 5 feature films,
We've-
including Dances with Wolves. Is in
Right.
there.
We've watched 3. We have 2 to go.
Yeah. So that's coming. I don't know what
Mhm.
our next one will be, but that's that.
Okay. That was good.
So I got to
This
see
is
how
really
many.
fun atmosphere. We'll probably do this again.
We will. We'll definitely. We'll have
Maybe
to see how
come
many
back
people
for
are
their
inside.
barbecue. Do it at night.
Well, that's the. If you listen back to our previous Corner
I
Club
know
episode,
they did barbecue that day too.
they suckered us in. We said we're going to
We
come
did
back for
come back.
barbecue, and we did.
We're not gonna do that today, but
You might not. I
Oh,
might be
might
hanging out with
just-
all these people inside. I hear there's a lot of people in there.
there are some people inside. Well, before it was like just us and one other
No,
table.
we showed up. We were in that in between of breakfast was wrapping up, lunch had yet to start. What?
Your sarcasm.
I'm not being serious. It's not a bit.
Mhm.
Okay. So I guess let's cheers. Our coffee cups are empty.
Coffee cups are empty.
And
Time to
until
move
next
on to a
time.
beer.
All right. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.